Welcome, 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 everybody. It is Thursday night, and you know what that means. It is time for your Carthage Firebirds Overwatch team to play some amazing, amazing matches. Tonight's matchup, your Carthage Firebirds versus the Wayne State Wildcats. I'm excited for that. I am your host, The Bearded Man, and I'm joined by Flair. How you doing, Flair?
Doing all right. I'm doing all right. Excited to watch this. I see we have a new overlay that the viewers are going to get to see in a minute here. I like how it comes into the screen. I don't know if it'll be shown yet. I don't know if that part's finished, but it has a nice transition in. We will get to see as the match starts here. Firebirds, remind me what happened last week.
Last week was against Purdue. It was pretty much, I believe we lost that first round. It was a pretty close matchup until that last round, and unfortunately didn't work out. And then the Firebirds coming back and just having a very, very good time. Just, I wouldn't say a steamroll, but it was a very, very strong attack and defense from the Firebirds all around. Overall, coming back with a win and a great win at that. Something to celebrate, and I'm hoping we see something very similar this week from your Firebirds. And hopefully we can see them fix kind of the things that they've been struggling with in the past week, i.e. not being able to win the first map usually and kind of get that momentum going. But before we start, let's meet the team.
Let's go. Oh my.
Video to showcase such a powerful team. I think it
Yeah,
definitely
always
sets the
fun to
tone.
see.
Oh yeah. But this week I'm expecting to see some really good plays like last week. I think to bring attention to Shinbone. Shinbone was a player unlike, and is truly a player unlike any player I've ever seen. Having a consistent the consistent ability to get 4Ks or 5Ks. Now, well, he didn't get any 5Ks. But he's working towards that.
I'm feeling it. Maybe tonight.
I'm feeling it. I believe because last week he got 2 4Ks to celebrate
true. He
about.
did.
Yeah.
So I think the 5K is coming. Also, I just got to point out our names are down there, and that's so cool.
Yeah.
This stream constantly evolving is my favorite thing.
Oh yeah.
Especially when you think about what our first one was last year.
Yeah, it was a little bit.
It was a little chalked.
It was interesting. But finally, we do have the names on screen, which is something we have never had up until this point because we usually have to introduce
pretty
ourselves.
darn cool right there.
It is. I think I'm excited to see how our streams continue to evolve as time goes on. Wait until you see the transitions, though. Tonight we have the best. Every week I think we add something new to it. So I am super excited to see what's coming out here. But it is the NECC week number 4. We're coming out there. We're just under halfway through the season, too. I believe it's 9 weeks total for the season, and then we get into
it's 9 weeks and then 3 weeks of playoffs.
3 weeks of playoffs, and I'm hoping that the Firebirds continue this amazing record, just continuing to win map after map, game after game, series after series. I'm hoping for some high level. I'm not saying championship, but that's what I'm hoping for.
You know, I haven't been able. I don't have access to that area in the NECC Discord. Do you know how the Firebirds are doing overall standing wise?
I believe it's a 2-1.
Yes, I know they are. 2-1
standing wise,
up, but like
I'm not quite sure.
Wise, yeah, I'm just not quite sure.
It's still kind of early in the season. I think. I know that there's a lot of times where because the rankings go based off of win loss and then map record, and usually there's like it kind of ties
past
up
map record. It's head to head, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I believe so. So it kind of every once in a while we'll see a 4 teams tied up for like 3rd place having a 2-1 map record. And then they have their map differences. I'm not quite sure those exact statistics this week, but I know it's pretty good for the Firebirds. I don't think it's perfect.
I'll be your little analyst. I'm going to go try and
definitely go for it. But it looks like for map 1, the ban is going to be Oasis, which I think is ultimately a really good choice. The Firebirds, oddly enough, last season doing really, really good. I believe they were undefeated on Oasis. And this season, I don't know if it's the jump to a higher ranking, but it's going to be pretty... we haven't seen much success on Oasis, so I'm glad it's being banned. And as I say that, we are moving on to the first map, I should say, of tonight's series, best of 5 series, is going to be Antarctic Peninsula, which is the new map that was released a couple weeks ago. First week in the NECC that is added to the map pool and able to be played. So I am super excited to experience this. I've only had a few moments of experience on this map, so we're going to be learning along with you all. But the Firebirds starting off, it is control point, meaning both teams fighting head-to-head to secure a centralized objective. Now the Firebirds starting lineup for map 1, we have Donut on that tank, Shinbone and Lunar Synergy on that DPS, Fuzzy and Nancakes on the support. As always, such a phenomenal team lineup here. But the Wildcats, we have Moose Milk, Frambe, Ginger Hair, Whispers, and Waffle Art. Those are some great names.
I like Waffle Art.
I do.
Big fan of that as a name. I'm really excited to see this new map here. I was supposed to go watch some videos about it within the past week, and I forgot. So
we'll learn it. We're
see as we go.
Together. I mean, ultimately, it's still Overwatch. The map has some effect to the gameplay, but ultimately, I think it'll be easy to transfer over and really figure out how it's going. As I say that, though, the Firebirds, their starting composition, I should say, it looks like they're running a Reinhardt, Tracer, Mei, Moira, and Lucio. Now, we don't see that much Mei, especially Lunar Synergy on Mei. And I am very happy to see that because I think Mei is a very, very powerful person to be playing on all of these maps in your team compositions because it's able to kind of cause some really bad issues for the other team. And as I say that, looking at the Wildcats running a Reinhardt, Cassidy, Mei, Lucio, and Baptiste, dueling Meis here and dueling Reinhardts. But ultimately, I think Donut on Reinhardt is going to be the winning factor here, but we do see the Firebirds kind of going slowly. It's kind of split up there on the left side. We do see the Maywall going out, trying to knock that Reinhardt off. Unfortunately, though, Fuzzy is picked off right away, and we're seeing the Wildcats dive into the Firebirds, getting picked off, and it looks like they're really going to pull out this win on this very first fight without any sort of issues. The Wildcats, what a dominant attack there. What did you think?
Yeah, that was just a great start by the Wildcats. Once you get a pick on the support early, the rest of the team, it's not so much. It's a lot harder. It's an uphill battle after that, and the Firebirds just couldn't quite bring it back. So it's an understandable loss there off the rip there. Just a great fire strike by Moose Milk. We'll see if the Firebirds can bring it back, though, moving forward.
Yeah, especially when that healer is kind of your main healer. Lucio's able to do some really good grouped healing, but individual healing is just not there. And as I say that, Nancakes is taken out by the Wildcats' Ginger Hair. And hopefully we can see Fuzzy doing the solo heals there, but as Moira is honestly going to be possible. And now, as I say that, Fuzzy popping the Coalescence, taking Moose Milk out of the fight, and Donut is able to move in slowly but surely. We are seeing the High Noon being popped, Lunar Synergy and Donut taken out by that Cassidy, Lunar Synergy falling to that High Noon, but Fuzzy's able to take out that from that Cassidy for the Wildcats. But more of the Firebirds getting picked out of this fight, taken out. Nancakes finally being back there in the fight, but being just taken out right away. And the Firebirds are going to have to regroup, reassess, and reevaluate their attack.
Yeah, you know, the one thing that I noticed that made the Firebirds really fall apart there is they had some great momentum starting with the Coalescence being shot off by Fuzzy, who's now transitioned over to Kiriko. But then the Maywall just kind of halted everything in its tracks. You know, it seems to be that's that kryptonite for the Firebirds right now, and they're trying to use it against their opponents, but right now, I think there's a May difference on the field.
Very true. But we're going to see Shinbone starting off with a beautiful 3K there, and Donut making sure to take out the enemy Rhine, and it looks like the Firebirds, once they take out that May, are going to be taking out the remaining Wildcats. Shinbone finishing that fight with a 4K there. 3 from that Death Blossom and 1 from his own hands. What a beautiful fight, but there is a lot of time to be played. We do see that Fuzzy and NECC swapped over to Kiriko and Baptiste, respectively, and Lunar Synergy being the only one to have an ultimate ability for the Firebirds. But looking at the Wildcats, they don't have anything. They're kind of just over halfway there to a high noon, but as I say that, Shinbone is right into the battle, taking out that trying to focus on that back line. Whispers, on the other hand, is taking out Donut from the Firebirds, so the Firebirds not having that tank is going to be an issue for them. We are seeing Lunar Synergy pop that. Blizzard taking out one of the DPS from the Wildcats, but will we see? Unfortunately, it doesn't look like Ginger Hair taking out Fuzzy. The Firebirds are going to have to back up. Shinbone's trying to 1v1, take out the entire team by himself, and they're still holding in, though. Lunar Synergy getting a double kill there, one of which is the support, Baptiste, so that's going to be really good. NECC finishing off that tank from the Wildcats, and despite being at a massive disadvantage on the number count, I think Shinbone was able to kind of keep them occupied, make sure to do enough damage to continue their focus, and just stall long enough for the rest of the Firebirds to come back and respawn. And that is beautiful to see, because now it's going to be pretty even rank-wise. Unfortunately, Lunar Synergy missing that May wall to block off that Reinhardt, which could have been phenomenal if he was able to aim that properly, but unfortunately missed it. We're seeing Moose Milk pop that Earth Shatter, only getting Lunar Synergy in that blast, and Shinbone getting a double kill there, a triple kill there with that Death Blossom, 2 of the Death Blossom, 1 by his own hand, and Lunar Synergy finishing off the Firebirds, despite being at such a slow start. Winning battle after battle once they gain that momentum, winning round 1 of this map. What a beautiful round.
Yeah, wow. The turning point really was just that ultimate by Shinbone there. That Death Blossom, the first of, I think, 3 triple kills he got throughout that first round. And ultimately, the Death Blossom once again sealed the deal in that final fight.
Definitely.
As the Firebirds really, I don't know how, but they were very spread out, and it really did not look good for them. And then we lost our first support. And then Lunar Synergy and Shinbone were able to get 1 pick, 2 pick, all of a sudden 3 picks. And the Firebirds are able to hold their ground. So nice job by our DPS there. Great job by our support, keeping them alive still, as the Firebirds are going to be up 1-0 on the first map.
I know. I think the big switch was also from our supports. NECC going to Baptiste off of Lucio. Lucio is great for the group healing, being able to heal anybody within the radius, but the individual healing is just slow. You know, I'm not quite sure the exact statistics, but it's better to have a Baptiste who can do some better individual healing, you know, being able to keep up Shinbone when he's diving the team, or Donut, as opposed to Lucio, who just can't really focus on any of that healing. But it looks like both teams taking that left side onto the high ground, going to be trying to battle for that. But Fuzzy taking out Moose Milk right away from the Wildcats. Firebirds getting that main tank, or that only tank, out of the picture is going to allow them to capture a lot of time while they wait for Moose Milk to respawn. And they've finally secured the point. And as I say that, we can see Fuzzy is Fuzzy is trying to get some long snipes there from a really good off angle, and waves to the camera. Perfect timing there, as we saw the camera was on him. But the battle is continuing there, right front and center. We're seeing the May for the Wildcats block Donut out. Unfortunately, Lunar Synergy getting picked off by Frambe, who has switched to Reaper, and Reaper's going to cause some issues for the Firebirds if they're not able to take him out. Donut was getting walled off by the Wildcats, and unfortunately more and more of the Firebirds being taken out. You have to worry about that May wall, because that is exactly what you need to do if you're playing May. Just wall off the main tank, the only tank, and have the entire team focus them, and then once the tank's out, you just kind of swoop in and mop up the rest, and that's exactly what we saw there.
Yeah, you know, it's been the issue of the Firebirds all season long, even since the Scrim series, so we'll just see what they can do to make sure that Mei is out of our hair. I think either you target them first, but I won't lie, Moose Milk has been a great Reinhardt so far. Comboed his shield with the perfect timing of. They don't have it this time, but they had Baptiste Immortality Field last round that was doing a great job of keeping everyone alive.
Yeah. But back to the fight, we saw the Firebirds getting 2 really good early picks on the Wildcats. Unfortunately for the Wildcats, Donut was able to get a quick double kill there with 1 single charge, which is a very impressive feat to behold. But we do see that the Wildcats have almost all of their ults outside of the nano boost that was popped on the Reinhardt earlier. But the Firebirds only having 3 out of 5, so will that one ultimate difference be the turning point, being the deciding factor? Shinbone has that Death Blossom, so I'm surprised. I'm expecting to see that from him very soon. And as I say that, it is being popped, but the Kiriko protection Suzu is going to protect the entirety of the Wildcats. But will that stop our Firebirds? Not quite. We're seeing Donut backing up very slowly into the supports, trying to fake out a little bit of a charge there. Maybe a fake out, not quite sure.
I don't think it was a fake out.
Hard to say, but Fuzzy trying his best, unfortunately not able to do anything, and the Firebirds are going to have to regroup. But Fuzzy and Lunar Synergy both have ults to spare. They saved that. Great to see. However, the Wildcats only using... I think the Wildcats used no ults in that fight.
Yeah, I mean, I think they used Shatter, but that was it. And everyone else got to save theirs. They're set up for a nice hold here for the rest of the round. It'll take a lot of effort from the Firebirds and some poor ult management by the Wildcats to make this go in the Firebirds' favor.
Definitely. I think right now we're seeing that Mei wall being popped by the Wildcats. Moose Milk trying to do a charge onto Donut, but Donut was able to counter that with a charge of his own. We're seeing the Wildcats popping that Blizzard. We're seeing a Nano and a Kiriko ult, the Kitsune Rush, and it's going to take out a lot of the Firebirds. And I think they really saved that because looking at the timer, the clock is ticking down, and I don't think the Firebirds can be able to get back to point soon enough for them to capture it and kind of hold that overtime. We're seeing Lunar Synergy swapping their Tracer, but it wasn't fast enough. That was really good ultimate control from the Wildcats, saving it until they know that if they can use them all at this one point, there's not going to be enough time for the Firebirds to respawn and run back to point.
Yeah, great job by the Wildcats there. Once the key was winning that fight without using many ults and having 4 now set up to play defense on. And the Firebirds just couldn't find the momentum again. They couldn't get their ults going. The combo of the Blizzard plus the Kitsune Rush,
is deadly.
It was a tough one. Firebirds had really nothing they could do, and that's instantly just a fight lost. And you could see, even if the Firebirds did make it back to point, there was still a Death Blossom in play for Wayne State. So great ult management there. We're going to see what they could do this time around. I'm excited to see point number 3 and officially say I've seen all 3 points.
Yeah, now point number 3 on this map, 1-1. Winner of this point will win the map. It is best of 3, like I said, but we're going to see the Firebirds taking that left path and the Wildcats going straight onto point. We do see that they're running a Symmetra, which might cause some issues for the Firebirds because those Symmetra turrets are going to cause some really bad damage to people who don't want that damage, especially the tank. Hopefully Shinbone and Lunar Synergy can kind of focus on them while Donut's able to kind of push that front line. But as we say that, Shinbone not able to get that upper hand until the last second, putting a ton of damage into the Mei whip, but it wasn't enough to get the kill. We're seeing that ice block being popped, and unfortunately Shinbone is taken out by the Baptiste for the Wildcats, and their Firebirds are just not able to get that upper hand. Donut running in to the Wildcats, but Lunar Synergy popping the wall behind him to give him some protection there. It was a beautiful move, but I don't know what to really think of it because, sure, Donut was able to get to the other side, but nobody was able to kind of heal him up and protect him from when he was all the way over there. So,
frankly, I just think it wasn't the best play there by the Firebirds. And the one thing that they really got to start dealing with are these sentry turrets, because these turrets, they're very useful on this map, clearly. And they've got some tough spots to be found, and they were just honestly always doing poke damage to the Firebirds, and it added up over time. And Firebirds now working with 60% only left on the map. and 2 ults to work with, so we'll see how that works out for them.
Yeah, we are seeing a bunch of them swap over, though. Shinbone is moving onto that Bastion, and Lunar Synergy moving onto the Mei. Donut switching off of the Reinhardt onto the Sigma. I'm not quite sure what to think of this. I think Donut is now going to be able to do a lot more damage, but also not be able to block enough damage as well. We're seeing Ginger Hair pop that Blizzard onto the Firebirds backline, whereas Donut was all alone up front and just going to be mopping them up, taking out NECC. Moose Milk taking out Donut, and the Firebirds are going to have to back up again. It is almost a full hold here. Probably 10 seconds left for the Wildcats. Firebirds need to touch. They cannot afford to lose this point right now, and Shinbone taken out of the picture. It looks like Donut able to switch to Wrecking Ball and stall on the point and just at the last second, but will it be enough? It doesn't look like it, because the rest of the Firebirds are taken out of the fight. The Wildcats are going to win map 1. What an unfortunate series of events. Firebirds starting off very, very strong, but not able to get that upper hand later on. What do you think the biggest flaw was?
One, I won't lie, it did seem like maybe some unfamiliarity to the map, especially on round number 3 there. I thought round 2, was just unfortunate. Good plays by the Wildcats. Round 3 this time over, though, I gotta say, I think it was an unfamiliarity, not knowing how to deal with the sentry turrets when they were there, not knowing how to deal with the Mei wall. So I think more playtime on that map, I think Firebirds maybe come out of that a little better, but this time it was just well prepped by the Wildcats, in my opinion.
Definitely. I think the Firebirds maybe just kind of wanting to get a taste of it, not too worried about losing only map 1, because there's a lot of Overwatch left to be played. But we're going to take a quick 5-minute break while we switch over to map 2, so don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to Map 2 of tonight's Overwatch match, your Carthage Firebirds versus the Wayne State Wildcats. Now, the Firebirds in Map 1 on the Antarctic Peninsula, the new map, not doing so hot, literally and figuratively, because they're in Antarctica. But, you know, round 1, coming back from, like, nothing, holding the point all the way, winning battle after battle, and then rounds 2 and 3, barely getting any sort of upper hand. It was unfortunate to see. But I think we can blame that on just the new map. You know, not knowing the new map. You know, it's only the first week the NECC has it in its map pool, so there's plenty of time for them, I think, to learn it in the coming weeks.
Yeah. The unfamiliarity definitely seemed like it played a part in it, which is surprising because I believe the Firebirds actually chose that map.
Yeah, you know, I think they were just kind of wanting to try it out. You know?
And, you know, that's fair. That's fair, just to get a gauge.
Yeah, definitely. But next, map 2 is going to be the hybrid map, and they're going to be playing the map they know and love, and I love to see Kings Row. Firebirds have had some amazing successes on this map, so I'm confident we're going to see some good plays from them in the coming minutes. But the Firebirds kind of staying with the same comp they finished the last map on. We're seeing Reinhardt, Bastion, Cassidy, Zenyatta, and Baptiste, whereas the Wildcats are running a Sigma, Bastion, Symmetra, Zenyatta, and Baptiste. And we are seeing a strategy that the Firebirds have used prior last season. We're seeing them use the Symmetra teleporter to teleport the Bastion on top of the statue, but the Firebirds, knowing how to counter that, are just going to step to the side and not let them get to any sort of advantage. Where you're seeing the teleporter, though, cause some issues for the backline of the Firebirds. Will we see the first pick? Unfortunately, the Firebirds are going to be losing Shinbone with that first pick from the Bastion, and Strombe getting 2 picks there in quick succession on the Firebirds, and the Firebirds are going to lose this first point. Strombe getting another pick there. What are the Firebirds going to need to do to switch this up and gain this ground? Because right now it is not working.
Yeah, well, you know, at first now it's just a different game. Now we're playing escort. You know, we quickly got through the control part, the capture point of it. Because the Firebirds are using, again, it was a strategy that I didn't think that highly of last week. Really waiting very deeply to the back of the point. And Wayne State capitalized. I mean, they were able to just kind of walk on there. As long as they got a couple picks, they were going to be able to capture it in quick succession. Now Firebirds got a long 5 minutes ahead of them. Very
true, and I know last season back in Overwatch 1, it was a very common strategy to just kind of allow them to take the first point. So that might have been what they're kind of thinking here, because now they're able to hold with a lot more cover, a lot more off angles, and hopefully kind of hold them on this corner. Because now we're seeing that the Wildcats aren't really able to kind of get and dive that back line like they used to. But, you know, who's to say at this point? We are seeing, unfortunately, Shinbone and Fuzzy taken out by the Wildcats Bastion. I think that is something they really have to worry about. Donut, though, using the Fire Strike, taking out the Symmetra, but it's not enough because the remaining Firebirds are taken out. Shinbone swapping off of the Bastion and onto the Ashe. And we are seeing the Firebirds already lose this next point. And that means we're going to be seeing them 5 minutes and 45 seconds on the clock for the Wildcats to push it all the way to the end.
That's a lot of time to have to deal with, especially with this shorter half of the map. Firebirds, honestly, Bearded Man, I don't really know what's going wrong here. They just aren't winning fights right now, and I don't know if it's a composition thing or a strategy thing, because I haven't really seen anything crazy coming out of the Wildcats so far.
No, I'm not quite sure what's happening either. It's almost as if they're not playing like they normally do. It looks like they're almost playing the solo games they're not usually playing. They're not really playing like that team. We're seeing a lot of the Wildcats kind of dive our backline, and none of the DPS really seeming to turn around, or Donut kind of pushing way too far up when he's alone. And I'm really not sure. We are seeing, though, Donut swapping to Winston here. Will that be the success? I don't really know what to expect here, because, like you said, I mean, it's not that the Wildcats are playing anything special. They're just winning. They're getting these really good picks on the Firebirds, and it's working out for them. I'm not quite sure what the Firebirds are able to do to kind of regain that any sort of momentum. NECC taking out Moose Milk there. Unfortunately, though, Lunar Synergy taken out in that fight as well. We are seeing Shinbone use the Ashe to kind of get some long shots. But going against that Widowmaker, that is something you really have to worry about because that Widowmaker is going to be focusing Fuzzy and Nancakes. So they're not going to be able to really pop out and heal the Winston when he's diving on the front line. But maybe we're going to see Fuzzy, who we've seen prior, get some long shots taking out the Widow, or maybe we're going to see Shinbone do the same thing. I don't think Junkrat is going to be able to focus the Widow at all, but it's going to be able to do some decent damage to that D.Va especially. So ultimately, I'm not quite sure how that's going to work out for either team. But we are seeing Fuzzy kind of get a really good pick on that Zenyatta from the Wildcats, and here we go. Firebirds kind of regaining that ground, catching and holding on to this position here like a... I don't even know. I was about to think of a funny analogy, but I can't think of it. Like somebody
that's why we don't get paid the big bucks
yes.
quite yet.
No, that's why I'm not an English major. I'm not good with creativity, but we are seeing the Firebirds just kind of push the car back slowly but surely, but there's a lot of time to still be on the clock, and it looks like Frambe on that Widowmaker for the Wildcats is focusing on the Firebirds backline and their DPS, really focus on these back lines. But as I say that, we're seeing Bob being popped out by Shinbone onto the front line. Unfortunately, though, Gingerheart was able to take out Bob, and Donut taken out by Whispers from the Wildcats. It looks like the Wildcats gaining that ground once again, though D.Va was trapped into that Junkrat trap, but will it be enough? We're seeing the Widowmaker take that that high ground, and Sojourn is going to be taking the other side, but none of the Firebirds are really on that point. Nobody is stalling outside of Donut. We're seeing them force back into the spawn. Fuzzy using that Transcendence to really stall and push the Wildcats back. Donut trying to dive that backline to do a decent amount of damage to kind of upset that steady hold that the Wildcats were having. Unfortunately, Moose Milk popping that self-destruct, taking Fuzzy out of the picture, and Shinbone going to be finally taking out Ginger Hair for the Wildcats, and we're seeing more and more plays. Shinbone getting a double kill there, taking out the Zenyatta. The Firebirds are kind of gaining this ground back slowly but surely, but they just lost it in the span of one fight, and there's only 2 minutes left. That's a lot of time for the Wildcats to just push them back even more.
Yeah, you know, it is pretty crazy what we're seeing here. The Firebirds are actually wasting a lot more time than I thought they would have at the start of this second point here. The interesting thing, though, is I don't think the Firebirds are doing anything too differently aside from getting a few ults that are working out in their favor. I think it's just the one thing. I agree, we're still seeing too many solo plays out of the Firebirds where no one's really trying to work cohesively as a unit to pick apart the other team. It's a lot of aim duels that we're seeing right now, and who can win these 1v1s.
Very true. And I think that's another thing too, is we're just not getting picks. You know, we're getting picks here and there, but it looks like the Wildcats are just having better picks. I mean, we see Shinbone laying down that TNT to just cause a ton of damage, but nobody was able to really get a last-second, elimination there outside of Fuzzy, who on Kiriko, you get a good headshot, and that's going to be great, but you're just not seeing the picks until, as I say that, we're seeing the Firebirds get 2 picks there in the fight, and that is the key. You could do all the damage you want, but if you're not finishing them off, it's just, you're not going to be able to secure that win. You're not able to secure the numbers advantage at that point, and it's just not going to work out there.
Yeah, we'll see what the Firebirds have left in them. We do have a Riptire that I would play early, to be honest, just to really slow down this last fight, because this will be it. Somehow the Firebirds, even with us being skeptical, have brought it back to the final fight of point number 2 after fighting hard for 5 minutes here. So we'll see what Lunar Synergy decides to do with this Riptire. That's what I'm waiting on here. Now we got Bob now.
We do see that the Wildcats kind of swapped out some of their players, but there we go. Lunar Synergy getting a triple kill there. Again, as I said it before, he's just a menace, getting so many kills, some really well-timed kills, and we see Frambe focusing on trying to stall the point last second. Shinmo just giving a little bit of a wave, not even shooting his gun, just kind of watching him move around, and that was beautiful to see. But the clock has
not
finished,
quite able to make
and
it.
The Wildcats were held. That was 5 minutes and 45 seconds for such a small span of the area. The Firebirds were able to hold them all the way. Now the Firebirds are going to have to attack, and if they push it all the way to right there, the farthest point that the Wildcats were able to push, they're going to be able to secure the win, which is easier said than done, but very possible,
It is doable.
It is very doable, and I think we saw that switch of, you know, as I called it out, it was funny. As I was saying what was happening, they were able to kind of just prove me wrong right then and there. They weren't getting picks until that last moment where they were finally able to get some really good kills, focusing on, you know, maybe the DPS or focusing on the supports. And it ultimately allowed them to kind of just to mop up the rest of the team with that number advantage. And when you have the spawn advantage right there, it ultimately just works out in your favor. But on attack, we're going to see a different situation here. But the Firebirds, we are pulling out a secret weapon here that isn't so secret if you've watched any of our matches. Shinbone on Genji is the
I was like,
the
what
go-to.
are you talking about?
The go-to against, especially if you have a Widow. Now, Ginger Hair is playing Mei, and Mei is a great counter to a Genji, so that is someone Shinbone's going to have to worry about. But if you take the Mei out, then it's just kind of easy pickings for Shinbone there.
Yeah, I hate to be the one to say it, but a Mei is kind of an easy counter to the Firebirds so far.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see if they could deal with that one as we head into the second half of map 2.
Very true. But we're seeing that Fire Strike go out, and Shinbone able to use that deflect to take or to block it and reflect it back onto the Wildcats. Lunar Synergy taking a bit of damage there, but it wasn't enough to get any pick. Shinbone trying to bait out that Widowmaker, really taunt him, make sure that, hey, if you're gonna try and headshot me, if I'm pulling this deflect, you're gonna be taking that headshot yourself. Unfortunately, though, Widow is taken, or Fuzzy is taken out from the Firebirds. Lunar Synergy, though, able to take out one of the supports for, oh my gosh, for the Wildcats, and despite that, Donut getting a quick double kill there onto the Wildcats and can be finishing off that tank. And the Firebirds are really going to have a great time here. It is now Donut versus a Zenyatta. Will we see Donut have any success here? Of course we are. A Winston versus a Zenyatta is a really good matchup for that Winston. Just absolutely no real threat there. Even if the Zenyatta is hitting the damage, you can kind of just use your bubble and jump around. I say that Frambe is going to be swapping off of that Widowmaker onto the Symmetra, which is ultimately a good pick there. Now Shinbone taking out Ginger Hair off of the Mei onto the Reaper, and honestly, I'd stick with the Mei because Shinbone is now going to have an even easier time if you're focusing on that Reaper. However, they do have that Symmetra, which is, as I say that, took Shinbone out, took another one of the Firebirds out, and Lunar Synergy and NECC are trying to back up, but unfortunately we're taken out. Now Symmetra's beam does, I believe, up to 127 or 120 damage per second when it's fully charged up. They might have changed that recently. It's a ton of damage. It might be, now that I say that, it might be like closer to 80, but it's a lot of damage when it's fully when it's charged up all the way, and it charges as you do damage. And that pierces Shinbone's deflect. But Lunar Synergy getting a double kill there on Frambe and Gingerheart. Unfortunately falling himself, but a double kill there is no shame there. We are seeing Whispers pop that Transcendence out for the Wildcats. Donut going to be using the Primal Rage, though, to take out the backline of the Wildcats. And going to be focusing on that Reaper, really kind of stall them. Shinbone, though, getting a double kill there on those who are on the point, and be using that boost from Fuzzy to kind of do some poke damage on that incoming Reaper for the Wildcats. And Shinbone's going to be swapping back onto an Ashe. I think that's a really good pick because you have that Symmetra, who is just the best counter to Genji. So,
yeah,
honestly,
Firebirds altogether, though, were finally able to capture the first point. Did it in much more time required, though, than the Wildcats did, so they're working with much less time as we move forward. They got about 3.5 minutes to make it to the next point. We'll see if they can do it. They're going to have to move swiftly.
Very true. But it is not impossible, because at this point, it's not about how much time you have on the clock. As long as you get to that end, you're going to have a great time. But Whispers taking out Shinbone, not a good pick for the Firebirds. Firebirds now having to kind of stall and lose a little bit of time while they regroup, while Shinbone respawns. However, the Wildcats popped that Symmetra wall, which honestly is a very bad thing to deal with. Like, it's really good for the Wildcats, but the Firebirds were able to kind of just delay it, and now they don't have to worry about that in this next fight. However, we do see that Ginger Hair has the Death Blossom, focusing on the backline, taking Shinbone out of the picture. But a Death Blossom only for one kill is a very interesting matchup there. I don't know how to equate that. I don't know if that was worth it, but I don't know. Shinbone is getting hard focused by Ginger Hair.
Wow.
All the way into the spawn, it looks like Ginger Hair is very upset by Shinbone and is just not having a good time when Shinbone is in the fight. But that Zenyatta is just kind of alone. We're seeing the Transcendence being popped, but honestly, might have been worth saving for that Earth Shatter, because now that the Transcendence is there, as I say that though, we're seeing the Earth Shatter being popped by Donut, and it is being basically saved by that Immortality Field. No picks were able to get be made by the Firebirds, and unfortunately, Firebirds losing 2 of their own. Ginger Hair is hard focusing Shinbone, but I gotta say though, right now, the Firebirds are just not positioned well. We are seeing Fuzzy, Lunar Synergy, and NECC behind the point, or technically in front of the point. They're between the point and the Wildcats spawn, so they really were kind of out of a good position there, but they were finally able to make it back to the payload, back with the rest of the team after a little bit of delay there. But you can't afford to lose that time at this point, because you're not gaining that ground, so you just kind of delayed the game in a sense and lost a lot of time while you moved back onto the site. But we are seeing Shinbone have that Bob ready for the play. Will we see it being popped right into the Wildcats? And there we go. We're seeing Shinbone, though. Amazing flick onto Frambe. Unfortunately, Bob is taken out right away, but a lot of the Firebirds able to finally get some key picks there. We are seeing that Reaper fall to Lunar Synergy, and the Firebirds really waiting on that Reinhardt to wake up, because they really wanted to stall and buy as much time as they could, and the Firebirds are able to gain a lot of ground. I don't know if it's going to be enough for them to reach the checkpoint, but it'll definitely be close, and once they reach the checkpoint, they're going to have an extra minute 30 added to the clock, but every bit of that is going to be used for them to push to the site. You know, they're really going to have to watch out, but they have 3 ultimate abilities at their disposal. Transcendence being popped by the Wildcats to counter this high noon from the Firebirds. Will we see the Firebirds get this ground? We're seeing the Nano being popped onto Donut by Fuzzy, and the Earth Shatter going out, knocking around a few of the Wildcats. Shinbone getting a quick double kill there, and Lunar Synergy mopping up the other support.
Firebirds do pull it off, and they make it to the next point. Now they got a minute 25 to work with to make it through the short end of it. Great job by Shinbone and Lunar Synergy. I think Wildcats were correct in focusing Shinbone, and I think if they bring that back, they will halt the Firebirds. Because right now, Shinbone and Lunar Synergy, they are just rolling along.
Very true. Now, we do see Frambe and Gingerheart swapping to Ashe and Hanzo, which honestly, Hanzo, I think, might be a really good choice here based on just being able to do a decent amount of damage from that range. It's not quite hit scan, but it's pretty close to it from that distance. And those, it's just overall, when you have the Dragons, it's going to be a great pick there, too. A great ultimate ability to stall the point as long as you can. We are seeing Shinbone take out Frambe, though. A bit of an Ashe diff, as we say. But honestly, we've seen some amazing plays by Frambe, but Shinbone taking out the other DPS for the Wildcats. Unfortunately, Moose Milk taking that Shatter, putting that Shatter onto the Firebirds, knocking a few people down, but Lunar Synergy and Shinbone getting some really crucial picks here for the Firebirds, allowing them pretty much to probably push all the way to the point. It's going to be pretty close. The fight's going to be here, but Lunar Synergy taking out one of the supports, and Donut has the Shatter. Lunar Synergy getting a double kill there. Firebirds coming back from a match that I was not
No, you can say you weren't expecting the win.
I was not expecting the win there.
It was a solid play by the Firebirds. Lunar Synergy and Shinbone, man. They're a deadly duo. They're
definitely
a deadly duo on the field?
On the field.
I guess.
On the streets.
On the streets of Kings Row here. But great job there by the Firebirds to work through having such little time, making it to that second point, and ultimately just rolling on through the last one, even with the shortened amount of time. Great job by them. And, you know, now we're tied up 1-1. We're going to take another 5 minutes before we head to our escort map in just a few.
Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, everybody, to Map 3 of tonight's Overwatch game. Your Carthage Firebirds versus the Wayne State Wildcats. Map 1, not so hot for the Firebirds, but Map 2, looking really, really bleak and looking to be another repeat. Just not hot. Not a hot match, and then all of a sudden, I don't know what happened, but Shinbone and Lunar Synergy decided to just become the greatest DPSs on Earth. And
Shinbone did indeed.
Shinbone was having a great match there. Same with Lunar Synergy, just all around having a great time against the Wildcats, causing a lot of issues for them. Definitely focusing on the players of the Wildcats that needed to be focused on, and ultimately coming back, holding a 5-minute and 40-second defense on that last side of Kings Row, coming back and pushing it with a decent, I believe, like 30 seconds to spare. So winning map 2, we're going on to map 3. It is Escort. It is Circuit Royale, a map the Firebirds have had both success and failure with again, but this time kind of causing some issues there because last time we saw this map, the Firebirds had a very, very bad time.
That they did, so we'll see if they could turn it around this time. I find it funny that we just keep coming back here out of all the Escort maps in this game. It's been Circuit Royale every time.
Yeah, but your Firebirds running Orisa, Ash, Cassidy, Kiriko, and Baptiste. Really, really good comp here. But for the Wildcats, running a Sigma, Widowmaker, Sojourn, Mercy, and Baptiste. But Widowmaker is going to be an issue, but we're seeing Shinbone hard focus that Widowmaker, make sure that there is no opportunity for them to kind of focus on our supports. Unfortunately, though, Shinbone is taken out of the picture by Frambe, by that Widowmaker, and the Firebirds are going to have to back up because the Widowmaker has such a good long angle on the supports. Honestly, that's the smart move there, and they're going to be able to use this corner to kind of hold some off angles, hold the Wildcats while Shinbone gets back into the fight. Hopefully can focus on that Widowmaker. That Sojourn, though, is going to be an issue for the Firebirds as well. But the Firebirds really holding it. Donut is able to kind of push up and get all the healing and support that he needs while he unleashes a good suppressive fire onto the main tank for the Wildcats and other notable people. But they're going to be, I think that's really good. However, as I say that, Frambe is taking NECC out the split second that NECC was out of cover, and it worked out for the Wildcats. Shinbone finally taking out Frambe, but the Firebirds lost both of their supports and are going to have to back up. Donut is going to be forced to back up, and it looks like the Wildcats are going to secure the first checkpoint.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the thing there was just the fact that Waffle Art had a very clutch immortality field on Frambe, Ginger Hair, and Whispers that allowed them to turn that fight around because the Firebirds seemed all in, but the moment that immort field dropped, that's what turned it around, and the Firebirds will ultimately lose point number 1 because of it. So now you just got to be a little more aware of that as when you're picking your fights to really dive all in for.
Definitely. And as we see the Wildcats slowly but surely pushing it around this corner up the incline, Ginger Hair taking that long railgun shot, taking Lunar Synergy out, but Donut's going to run in, pop that Orisa ultimate. Unfortunately, wasn't able to take anybody out. We see that immortality field going out, being able to protect a lot of the Wildcats, and the Firebirds are going to lose. Shinbone not able to do anything and just accepting that that moment there. Lunar Synergy having that high noon at the ready, along with Fuzzy with that Kitsune Rush and Nankicks with that amplification matrix. Frambe is going to be popping that vision out and allowing the Wildcats to see the entirety of the Firebirds through the walls, make sure that they can kind of play some smart plays. Donut really kind of it almost looked like he was faking it. He just purposely looked to the wrong side to kind of force some of the Wildcats to push in. And as we see that, we're seeing more and more amazing plays. Shinbone switching off of Ash onto the Genji, and it's working out. He got a good kill there. I think it was a clean spread across the board. I think everybody kind of got a kill there in some way or another. And the Firebirds are able to kind of defend the Wildcats, stop the payload from reaching that second checkpoint.
Yeah, great job by the Firebirds there to use that Kitsune Rush to its fullest, getting the team kill there. Notice Frambe has switched off onto Reaper, so we'll see how that affects the composition. Frankly, I thought I would personally would have stayed on the Widow. Widow was doing a great job of picking our team apart. But we'll see if this is an advantageous switch for the Wayne State Wildcats moving into this fight here, as they've only got a couple meters left to push before point 2.
Very true, but I think Shinbone on that Genji is causing enough issues, enough disruptions for the Wildcats that they're gonna have a great time. Donut taking a ton of damage there, just barely making it out alive. I don't know if Kiriko's really working out. The damage isn't exactly the issue. The Firebirds are just not able to get enough healing. And I think that just because looking at the Wildcats, they're able to output so much damage that it's just causing a lot of issues. I mean, yeah, you have the protection Suzu, but is that doing enough to justify the Kiriko? I'm not quite sure. Because we know Fuzzy is a monster on Kiriko. We've seen some amazing plays, but is it, you know, do you want to sacrifice that kind of healing for a little bit more damage? I'm not quite sure what the move is at this point. But it does look like the Wildcats securing that checkpoint once again. Moving on to the final stretch with 1.5 minutes left. Will the Firebirds be able to pull off another amazing defense here? We are seeing Shinbone dive the back line using that Dragon Blade, taking 2 of the Wildcats out of the fight. Lunar Synergy finishing off Waffle Art. Shinbone getting a triple kill, a quadruple kill there in that fight. 4 kills, 2 of which with the blade, 2 of which with his own hands, his own bare hands. And ultimately having a great time doing it. I am sure that is going to allow the Firebirds to buy a decent amount of time for the Wildcats to kind of regroup. Yeah,
I mean, the Firebirds, once again, now I've found the new strategy. It's get Fuzzy that ultimate, because both team kills have now come as the result of a Kitsune rush. So I think Firebirds, you know, if that's what you really got to bank on, then you got to find a way to charge those ults quickly, because these 1v1s, they're not being won right now.
Mm-hmm. Now, we see Frambe dive the Firebirds using that Death Blossom, but was not able to get any picks. However, Lunar Synergy using the High Noon, taking out that Frambe. Donut popping that Primal Rage. Shinbone running on, trying to take out that Mercy from the Wildcats. Wasn't able to do it. He was just able to get enough healing in that. I believe that was probably just that, not the passive ability, but overall just the support passive, along with Mercy's quirk of as she does healing to somebody, she's going to get a percentage of that healing back. And Shinbone was just not able to get that kill, but Firebirds were able to get enough damage and enough kills elsewhere to cause a lot of disruptions for the Wildcats. NECC's trying to do healing, as much healing as she can with that Mercy. Lunar Synergy taking out Ginger Hair from the battle. Shinbone being focused by that Winston.
The Kitsune rush. We'll see if it...
Yeah, it is not looking...
It doesn't look like it's going to work this time.
Yeah, I think Shinbone against a Genji against a Winston is not a good thing, because that deflect is just not able to really do anything. So you got to be careful there. Shinbone, I would not be surprised, going to be switching off after this ultimate ability, but that's because now the point's going to be captured. It looks like will we see the Firebirds stop the point? We do see them stopping at 3 meters away. The rest of the Firebirds need to get back onto the site, get some picks. We're seeing Shinbone pop that blade. Unfortunately, way too aggressive there, not able to get any sort of picks, doing a ton of damage though to stall, and we're seeing an amazing anti-grenade there by Fuzzy to do a decent amount of damage, but once again, nobody able to secure the kills. And as I say that, Lunar Synergy able to do enough damage, taking out Moose Milk. Firebirds are able to push in. Donut getting a pick with the Primal Rage. Shinbone switching to Tracer, taking Wildflower, and Fuzzy taking out Frambe. Shinbone once again making the smart move and switching.
What a stop there by the Firebirds. They're going to have to do one more fight, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, one more fight. But, you know, the fact that we've even gone this long on the timer, I'm pretty impressed by. It's once again, just like on the hybrid map, it was just all of a sudden the Firebirds were at overtime. We'll see if they can pull it off again this time. A couple ults for the Wildcats to work with. Firebirds getting close to 1.
Yeah. We're seeing that Death Blossom being popped by Frambe. Unfortunately, NECC and Lunar Synergy taken out. Oddly enough, though, I could hear Shinbone in our studio. I could hear him shouting about that Death Blossom. Unfortunately, it was not quick enough, and it looks like the Wildcats were able to push it all the way to the end with overtime. In overtime, unfortunately, but the Firebirds are still able to come back. The Firebirds just now need to push it all the way to the end with time remaining, and then they're
bonus rounds.
Then the bonus rounds, and this is only map 3. We could be seeing a map 5 tonight, and I'm not quite sure how I feel about that. Map 5s are always interesting, but you can't complain about it, but it's always just, you know, it's always long. You know, it's always several hours.
It does become a longer night for us, but you know, we make it through it.
Well, I'm not even talking about us. I'm talking about for the players. It becomes an endurance
forget the
match.
players.
Forget the players.
They'll be fine. I've watched. Have you seen how many hours they have in this game? These people play it for hours on end.
I mean, I have a couple hundred hours in this game.
Yeah, a couple hundred. Try a couple thousand out there.
Okay, I know, but there's a reason why they're there, and I'm out. I'm in here. But ultimately, it does become. I mean, we've seen from Rainbow Six going into 11.
No, yes,
11:30 at night.
At times,
it really kind of causes issues there. But will the Firebirds be able to really cause enough disruption here for the Wildcats to regain this ground? We're seeing Donut go to Winston, Shinbone on to Genji, Lunar Synergy on to Cassidy, Fuzzy on to Kiriko, and Nankix on Mercy, whereas the Wildcats running that Moose Milk on Sigma, Frambe on Ash, Gingerheart on Hanzo, Whispers on Mercy, and Waffle Art on Baptiste. We are seeing the Firebirds try and do this interesting strategy that I think works half the time. Not quite sure what to expect here, but it looks like they're going to be trying to go. Oh, unfortunately, we do see there is a technical pause here that the Wildcats are calling. So that I'm not quite sure what the issue is. That could be a 30-second fix. That could be a long, a more than 30-second fix. So while that's getting situated, we are going to take a quick break and hopefully have an answer shortly. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. As we immediately cut to that commercial, one of the Wildcats was able to bring it back onto chat saying that they fixed that technical issues. Sounds like it was just some small mouse issues, which is always a good problem to have because it's simple, and especially when it's fixed that quickly. Now, back to the match. Firebirds looks like they were going to have a pretty interesting push here on the beginning. What do you think? What are you expecting?
Yeah, you know, I'm excited to see what happens here because Donut, I believe, can leap over that side. And I believe Fuzzy can teleport after, and NECC can just hop on over. I do not know if Shinbone can get over. That's the interesting thing for me. So I think both DPS are going to have to go with the cart. So I'm just intrigued to see how this is going to work out for the Firebirds here.
I'm curious too, but I think Shinbone has enough hours in Genji to really to know what to expect here. And we do see the Kiriko's going to join them. Lunar Synergy, though, is one who's designated to push the cart, and the rest of the Firebirds diving on to the Wildcats. Will we see a pick in favor of the Firebirds, or will we see the Firebirds get picked off?
Either way, it's been some great space taking by the Firebirds due to that. You know, I do find it quite resourceful of the Firebirds. They had this used against them week number 1, and they have stolen it, made it their own, and it's been working out very well ever since, as they will make it under the bridge.
Unfortunately, a bunch of the Firebirds taken out of the picture. It looked like Shinbone and I believe Donut were really focusing on that backline of the Wildcats, while Moose Milk was just able to focus on our backline and take all of them out. You know, our supports are only able to do so much by themselves, and ultimately it did not work out. But their fight is back. The Firebirds are ready to push back in. Donut and Shinbone diving in onto Genji, or as Genji and Winston. Will we see Shinbone focus? We're seeing Shinbone focus that backline. Focus the DPS is really just focus on anybody he can along with Donut, but will it be enough? We're seeing a lot of damage being done, but nobody's able to get the execution. Nobody's able to get the finishing touch on that damage, that extra little bit of damage there needed to get to finish off the kill, and unfortunately 4 of the Firebirds taken out there by the Wildcats.
Yeah, great fight there by the Wildcats. They're just, I won't lie, Firebirds may have won map number 2, but I've just felt some dominance by the Wildcats this match. You know, not huge dominance, but they've just seemed to have better synergy among each other.
I think that is exactly what it is. We're just seeing the Firebirds, I mean, like you were saying, they're playing kind of an individual game. They have their moments where they're playing as a team, but as I've been saying too, they're not able to get that finishing bit of damage. They're not able to have two people kind of focus on one person to kill somebody in the fight. Unfortunately, Shinbone taken out by that dragon. Donut able to escape just barely from that dragon. That near-death experience might have scared him a little bit, but you know, I don't think I've ever seen the Firebirds play like this. I really don't.
We're gonna see the dive again.
It's heartbreaking to see Donut missing that dive a little bit, but able to pop the Primal Rage, get a refresh onto that jet boost, and is able to dive the backline. Shinbone taking out Frambe there, and Nancakes, and Shinbone getting a double kill there. Nancakes taking out Moose Milk. Shinbone getting a triple kill there. Will we see the quad kill? We're seeing a quad kill there. That is like 3 or 4. That is 4 4Ks from Shinbone tonight. And we're only on map 3. Wow. What a beautiful, beautiful set of events. But will it be enough for the Firebirds to really secure any sort of ground here? Donut having to back up onto that point.
Oh, and they made it.
And the Wildcats have dove back on the point. Unfortunately, Fuzzy taken out by Frambe. Donut focusing on the backline. Bob is going to be popped by Ash, but I think it was I thought it was canceled there. Unfortunately not. Shinbone taken out, and Bob is just going to cause a lot of disruption. Firebirds not able to secure that checkpoint, and 10 seconds left on the clock. It is not looking good for them.
No, it's not. I mean, what a great way to make sure that Bob got popped there, because just controlling that amount of space. Firebirds in overtime, they just got to win a fight, and then they get to buy themselves another minute 30. But we're just seeing great combos and strategy by the Wildcats, being able to dive into the back line. It's impressive stuff, to be honest.
It is. You know, Shinbone's really trying his best. We've seen some amazing plays from Shinbone, but he's just not able to 1v5 everybody. You know, when he's alone, the rest of the Firebirds are not able to do any sort of damage, and it's not going to work out. Unfortunately, the Wildcats winning map 3, bringing it 2-1. It is now match point for the Wildcats on this next map. On push, which is, I think the Firebirds have had some good moments now. We are going to see Shinbone getting the play of the game here. Getting 1 kill there. Getting 2. 3. And 4.
4.
Not able to get the 5th one. But once again, he's gotten like 3 or 4 4Ks tonight. 4Ks tonight. That is like 16 kills. And that's just for the ones in quick succession. But regardless, we're going to take a quick 5-minute break while we get ready for this next push map. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to map number 4 of tonight's Overwatch game, your Carthage Firebirds versus the Wayne State Wildcats. Firebirds not doing so well in map 1, coming back from a drastic margin of map 2 and holding the Wildcats attacking on Kings Row. A beautiful, beautiful sight to see. And then map 3 on Circuit Royale. Firebirds, I have never seen the Firebirds play like this, and it is not a good thing. It is just... It's as if they've never... I don't know what's up tonight. I don't know if it's the weather or what, but unfortunately, Firebirds have not been playing like we normally see. They have not been playing together as a team, but we are on to map 4, and I'm hoping we're seeing some sort of change up. I know that Coach Palmer was talking to them between that map, really calling them out basically and saying, you know, here's what you guys need to fix. Here's what you need to focus on. And I'm expecting on this push map number 4, we're going to see a little bit of a change up here. Now, on push, Firebirds have had some success and some failures. What do you expect from them tonight?
Well, really, it depends on how that pep talk turned out, or chewing out, whichever one is more operative for this term. Because the Firebirds just really haven't looked like a team. I think if they don't really make a change here and start working cohesively, this is it. I think right here will be it, especially because it's push, which is just, you know, a little shaky for the Firebirds. We've seen success, we've seen failure on it, but I'm just not solidified that this is their best thing to do. So really, I guess I'm looking for if we see getting the kills when you've got them low.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen too many people at like 2 HP that have been able to survive.
Definitely. But we do see the Firebirds just all right off the bat running a Doomfist. Genji, Cassidy, Ana, and Lucio. Pretty good composition there for the Firebirds, pretty aggressive, but against the Ramatra, not faring too well right off the bat. Both of the Firebirds supports taken out of the fight. Shinbone is able to come in and take out one of the supports from the Wildcats, but was not able to do anything by himself, unfortunately, and it looks like the Wildcats securing the point and pushing it right away. Firebirds really having to again, it is unfortunate to see just not being able to follow through with a lot of these kills, not being together in a sense, or we're seeing the Wildcats just take out our entire backline, whereas the rest of the Firebirds not really protecting them.
Yeah, I won't lie, I did have to sneeze, and so I missed the entire fight, so it's quite literally a blink and you miss it kind of thing that happened there. Firebirds, plenty of time to try and bring it back, but that's not the message you want to be asserting after a nice 5-minute time out there.
Definitely, but hopefully we're going to see Shinbone switching off the Genji onto that Reaper, which might be the key to success here. We are seeing the Ramatra just cause a lot of damage for the Firebirds, and Frambe on that Soldier 76 was on that high ground and just looked down and rained hellfire from above using that pulse rifle, and it did not work out. Firebirds already losing that first checkpoint, and that is not going to be bad. That is not going to be good, because now the Wildcats spawn point is pushed forward. It is closer to the Firebirds base. Lunar Synergy taking out Frambe there from that distance, and Donut is switching back onto that Reinhardt. Will that be the key to success? Able to knock around that Ramatra, knock around the rest of the Wildcats, and looks like the Firebirds almost able to secure the point and push. What did we name it? Ronaldo, right?
Yeah, Ronaldo, I think, is what we went
yeah.
with. I was trying to think of the same thing. I was like, was it RJ?
It was something with an R. I don't know if it was... I thought we were going to say Robert. But as I say that, though, Lunar Synergy and Shinbone getting 2 really good kills there. Lunar Synergy getting 3, or getting 2 himself. Donut taking out Whispers, and the Firebirds are able to gain ground here. Slowly but surely, they're winning these fights, and we have a ton of ultimates at our disposal. All of the Firebirds have ultimates, whereas the Wildcats only having 3 out of the 5. But we have seen the Wildcats really be smart with these ultimates, so the Firebirds are really going to have to watch out for that. We're going to see the Shatter going out onto a lot of the Firebirds. We're seeing a Death Blossom being popped by Shinbone and by Ginger Hair. Kind of, I don't know if they were trying to attack each other, or just kind of a, I don't know what to expect there, but Shinbone teleporting out, unfortunately, was not, I wouldn't say sneakily enough, and Frambe was able to finish him off, and the rest of the Firebirds are taken out of the fight. Wildcats re-securing control of Ronaldo, bringing him to the other side, back to where they were pushing, and are going to re-unlock that upwards, that forward spawn point for the Wildcats.
Yeah, you know, it's a back and forth. Now we're seeing the Firebirds. They were looking pretty good there as they were taking that point back. Then they slowly fell apart there as they got spaced out. We're going to see the nano boost onto Reinhardt, but a great immortality field is going to keep Ramatra alive for a little bit at least, if not altogether.
See, here's that moment where the Ramatra is literally one bit of health away, and it took all of that for Donut to finish him off, trying his best, but none of the long-range damage, you know, like the Cassidy, literally any of the other Firebirds were able to see that and finish him off with one click there. Finally, Donut was able to secure that kill, and the Firebirds have resecured Ronaldo, pushing the cart back or forwards all the way to the first objective. This is a pretty even battle right now. I think it's definitely head-to-head, unlike what it's been in the past, where it's kind of a, you know, one team at that massive advantage. So we are seeing a lot of Overwatch here. Soon, a fun moment to be sure, but NECC's taken out of the fight. Donut taken out of the fight as well. The Firebirds are going to have to back up. Shinbone trying to teleport away, able to make it just a little bit. Unfortunately, Frambe finishing him off. Fuzzy was able to get a pick there, but is also finished off by the Wildcats. Firebirds once again lose the point. This is literally back and forth. It's literally... They're pushing the cart, and Ronaldo's going to one end and then back to the other.
Yeah, Ronaldo's getting tired.
He's getting his cardio in, you know?
Oh,
He's just stopped.
and we have no longer cared about pushing the point.
It's because the Wildcats left him, you know, in order for Ronaldo to be moving, you have to be having somebody on top of him, somebody with him. He needs his hand held while he crosses the street.
Firebirds trying to take the above angle here, get behind the Wildcats, see if that works out in their favor. There's the shatter. It gets blocked wonderfully, though, by Moose Milk. And with the immortality field, it won't be enough as the double death blossoms go out, and we've got them trading back and forth. Does seem like the Firebirds will come out on top, though, and take the robot.
Very true. That was, we're seeing some, really, it is as humorous enough, we are seeing two literally almost dead even Reapers play against each other. I think it's literally 1-for-1 in every angle here. Ginger Hair and Shinbone both getting two kills there, but Shinbone was able to get another kill matched with Lunar Synergy, ultimately allowing the Firebirds to push in. Donut was alone, or not alone there, but had NECC on top of him. Unfortunately, not getting any sort of healing. Lunar Synergy, though, getting a double kill there with the High Noon. NECC and Shinbone, though, finishing off the remaining three. Shinbone getting a double kill there. Oh my gosh, Firebirds have
Who needs a tank?
Yeah.
Who needs a tank, apparently, when you got Shinbone and Lunar Synergy starting to light it up there. They finally take control of that first point there. They're going to try and take their first lead after this fight. But will the Wildcats be able to push on back?
Hard to say. I mean, there's still a lot of time to be played, and it's not about pushing it all the way to the end. It's about how far you can get it ultimately. And if they can stall for those 3 minutes and push it just about 15 meters, Firebirds might have some success there. Now, I got to say that, though. Donut just had his shield raised and literally walked into the Wildcats while the rest of the Firebirds really causing some issues for the Wildcats, allowing them to get some good kills. Now, unfortunately, Frambe walking or running away without getting finished off by the rest of the Firebirds, but the Firebirds are able to push and gain a lot of ground here with Ronaldo. Ultimately, I think it's a pretty good fight there. We are seeing Shinbone take on the soldier, not able to get the finishing shot, but was able to cause enough issues, kind of force him to back up. Ginger Hair swapping off the Reaper onto the Mei, and Donut just barely able to get back. The Mei is going to cause some issues if Donut continues to play front and center. Moose Milk swapping off the Reinhardt back onto the Ramatra. Actually, might have been a Sigma. I'm not quite sure. I don't recall. But Lunar Synergy getting not able to get a High Noon kill out on anybody outside of the immortality field. Shinbone, though, getting a double kill, a triple kill there, and Lunar Synergy finishing off Gingerheart. This is the Firebirds we know and love. This is the Firebirds I don't know why we haven't seen it we didn't see it on the last map. We did kind of see him on that map too, but Firebirds really coming back here, really gaining this ground.
To be honest, though, I really got to say, I don't know if it's been a pickup in synergy as much as I've just seen Shinbone and Lunar Synergy really just deciding that this they're not going down right now. But either way, the Firebirds pushing all the way to the spawn door. They're going absolutely crazy out there as we hear them through the walls.
It sounds like it
sounds like a LAN out there.
It sounds like that at the end of the dramatic football movie where they're all like shouting at each other, helping each other. That is what we're hearing. We're hearing them.
Goodness
command each other in a demanding voice, but in a good way. In a, hey, we are gaining this ground. We are gaining this momentum. Let's keep it. Don't let us lose it. And as we say that, Firebirds gaining that ground, securing it, coming back from a dramatic loss on map 3, coming down, evening it out 2-2. We are going into game 5 or map number 5, and the Firebirds are finally fired up. That pep talk worked. And we see that amazing high noon there from Lunar Synergy. A double kill there, pairing it with Shinbone. 2 dominant DPSs working together is the duo you know, you love, you need, we have. We're ready for it.
Yeah, the question becomes, will it be enough? Will Shinbone and Lunar Synergy be able to keep bringing their dominance in map number 5? We will find out in just about 5 minutes. We'll be right back.
Don't go anywhere. welcome back, everybody, to map number 5 of tonight's Overwatch matchup. Your Carthage Firebirds versus the Wayne State Wildcats. And what a roller coaster of maps it has been tonight. Why don't you give us a quick recap?
Yeah, we've been sitting here, and it didn't seem like we would be making it to a Game 5 by any standard. We saw a great performance by the Wayne State Wildcats on map number 1. Seemed like they just knew the new map a little bit better. Firebirds kind of barely holding on, in my opinion, on map number 2 to take 1. That's all I personally thought they were going to get, as Wayne showed dominance on map number 3, and the Firebirds just started to fall apart. Not sure if they fully came together in map number 4, but we did see a masterclass provided by Odin, who is
Shinbone.
You almost did it earlier. I finally pulled the trigger there. It's because I deal with Rocket League players who half the time use their name as their username.
I wonder who Petey is.
I wonder what the lore behind the username Petey is.
Honestly,
so anyway, we see a great job on map 4 by mainly Shinbone. We heard yelling from the other room where the captain, Ben, keeping him fired up. Actually, is Ben still the captain?
I believe it was it was a mix of Donut and Shinbone demanding and shouting it for the team in the map 4, ending up with a great win, great push at the end. But as we hop into map 5 on Nepal, map the Firebirds know and love, and I'm ready for it. The scores on the top of the screen are inaccurate. It is 2-2, so whoever wins this map is going to be the ultimate champion. Firebirds running that Reinhardt, Junkrat, Cassidy, Ana, and Lucio, whereas the Wildcats are running that Reinhardt, Ash, Junkrat, Mercy, and Kiriko. Now, Shinbone taking out Gingerheart. Unfortunately, Lunar Synergy taken out, but Shinbone able to get one of the supports for the Wildcats, getting a triple kill there on Junkrat, and going to be forcing the Wildcats to really back up, because Shinbone is a dominant force here, a dominant player, and is causing a lot of issues for the Wildcats.
Dude, the kid is just a little bit different. That's crazy.
He really is just cracks at every single DPS we see him play. Even in those moments where the team is not doing too well, he is still providing enough discomfort for the other team that they're really having to really watch these plays. We do see Fuzzy, though, getting that long-range sleep on one of the Wildcats. Lunar Synergy watching that angle, holding that angle, waiting for somebody to dive on a point, and that is exactly what we're seeing. Fuzzy, unfortunately, taken out from the Firebirds by the Wildcats, so the Firebirds only having one support, and that is NECC. Unfortunately, Frambe taking out 2 of the Firebirds. Gingerheart is there, taking out Donut. Shinbone taking out Kiriko, though. Unfortunately, not able to get any more picks, but NECC is remaining on point, trying to stall as much as she can, and is not taken out, or it's taken out by Frambe. Wildcats taking the point, but the Firebirds at 46% on the secure.
Yeah, great start there by the Firebirds. They wasted a lot of time even when they started getting staggered, because Shinbone was able to just provide even more picks. We're going to need that excellence out of him, or we're going to need another Firebird to start stepping up in a big way here. We're going to need some... Primarily, I need to see the supports making sure Donut stays alive as long as possible. I think that's what will be winning the match here.
Definitely, but we can hear that they are talking. They're not talking. They're communicating out there very loudly, making sure all the intel, all the information is conveyed properly. Shinbone taking out Gingerhair there with the Riptire, and Donut and Lunar Synergy getting a pick on the Mercy. Donut getting a double kill there with the Nano Boost, and the Firebirds have resecured the point. What a battle there, allowing them to continue to hold that lead, and more dominance being pushed. However, the Wildcats having 3 ultimate at their disposal, whereas the Firebirds having 2, maybe 3 on this next fight. And I got to say that Kiriko Kasuni rush is one you got to be watching out for. We're going to see Donut, though, with that Reinhardt. Unfortunately, Fuzzy's knocked out of the fight, but Donut using the Shatter, taking out one of the DPS for the Wildcats. Unfortunately, falling himself, but Donut and Shinbone,
Back and forth here. Firebirds. And we're going to see NECC try and get out of there. Good, just in time to prevent that stagger from happening there. Firebirds will lose the point again, but they gain another 40% on it. They've got about 1 ultimate at the ready. They should have a couple more maybe in the next fight, but depending how long the fight lasts. But they are going up against A Riptire that was just released, as well as Frambe's Bob, can be used at a moment's notice. The Riptire comes through. It was destroyed, though, by Donuts. The Firebirds are going to be able to keep on moving along, as that will not have gotten any value.
Firebirds need to win probably 2 more fights at this point to secure the point in its entirety, and that's only round number 1. Shinbone, though, getting an early pick on Gingerheart. Will we see Donut able to take out that Bob? Bob is not going to have an issue here. Donut going 1-to-1 against the Reinhardt, and unfortunately, Moose Milk able to get that shatter out. Shinbone taken out of the picture. Whispers getting the revive for the Wildcats. And more the Firebirds are falling to this fight. Lunar Synergy forced to back up. Firebirds need to make it back to point. It is 84 seconds left, and that is only a few seconds remaining for the Firebirds to come back and re-secure and go into overtime for this round. Shinbone really struggling to get above, but using that mine to boost him up. We're seeing Donut switch to that Wrecking Ball for maximum speed, maximum stall, 96% on the clock. Firebirds need to touch right now, 99% on the clock. It is frozen for the Wildcats.
Oh my gosh, are we going to see a cap?
We might be seeing a capture. It is not quite as being contested because Donut's the only one on point. We're seeing the Wildcats kind of dive on the back. Oh my god, Lunar Synergy getting a pick on Moose Milk, and Shinbone getting the cure cold. Lunar Synergy getting a double kill. Shinbone getting another kill. The Firebirds, despite what the heck?
That's crazy. They're going to have time for one more, though. Moose Milk, I think, should have transitioned, but I like this aggressiveness out of Donut. Slow him down. Maybe you can keep him out of the door. Gonna try it. 1 second left. Firebirds, can't Lucio make it? We move on to round number 2. Firebirds up 1-0.
Oh my gosh, I was not expecting that. Donut being the tank alone on point. We saw the Wildcats, we saw Moose Milk dive the back line of the Firebirds away from Donut. Donut's focus was, I'm going to stay on point, I'm going to secure point. But the rest of the Firebirds, Lunar Synergy and Shinbone, able to protect our supports, able to do a ton of damage to Moose Milk, to the entirety of the Wildcats, holding their own, gaining that advantage, allowing the Firebirds to take that point beautifully. We are going into the round that is make or break. I think at this point the Firebirds can really need to win this round, and they win the map. It is still match point for both teams. We are seeing this map on Nepal, and I think the Firebirds love this map. We are seeing dueling Symmetras here. We are seeing a Reaper versus a Bastion, though. A very interesting composition. Moose Milk taking out NECC, though, right off the bat. Really bad pick for the Firebirds, losing one of those supports. Frambe taking out Shinbone. We are seeing Lunar Synergy on that Symmetra, trying do a ton of damage there. Unfortunately, the Firebirds are going to have to back up here. Lunar Synergy using that teleporter to back up forcefully onto that backline security safety.
Yeah, I don't know if Symmetra is the play for the Firebirds. They are going up against what I have to say is probably the most annoying combo I can think of in this game, with Bastion and Symmetra being their opponents here.
I think Symmetra is a pretty good pick here, but you need to be focusing on those turrets, and we are going to see Shinbone focusing on the backline. The Bastion doing a ton of damage, tearing Shinbone up, but it wasn't enough, and he was able to get back up and survive. We are seeing that Symmetra finally taken out by Lunar Synergy. The revive going off from one of the players, but Shinbone getting a pick on the Baptiste, and Donut finishing him off. It is now just the Bastion and the Mercy, and Donut finishing him off, focusing on it. Lunar Synergy getting a double kill there on the Mercy and Bastion, allowing them to buy a decent amount of time. Will it be enough to tie up the percentages? Probably not, but the Firebirds have secured the point, and are going to have to hold it now from now on. Unfortunately, Shinbone taken out by the Bastion. A very bad pick. We are seeing the Bastion pop up that ultimate ability, that artillery strike, taking out NECC, taking out Fuzzy's Immortality Field. NECC needs to swap out of the Lucio, I think, at this point. It is just not working. That group healing is great, but it is not enough direct healing.
I'm just not seeing the movement that Lucio can provide being useful enough right now for the Firebirds composition here.
I think this is the first time I'm actually saying NECC you need to switch because it's not working. We have seen some amazing, week after week, NECC is a dominant force on everybody. But honestly, right now, the Lucio just doesn't seem to be working. But I'm waiting for NECC to prove me wrong, especially with that beat drop. We are seeing Donut having that shatter at the ready. Unfortunately, we saw that teleporter try and go out, but it wasn't enough. Shinbone having the Death Blossom, getting a double kill there, getting a triple kill there, and is going to be knocking out a ton of the Wildcats. Unfortunately, we're seeing that Valkyrie being popped by by Whispers,
Doesn't
but
matter.
it wasn't enough because Shinbone was just going to have a great time and take out the pocketed Bastion there. And the Firebirds have resecured the point. Unfortunately, a lot of time being taken out, or being a lot of percentage points added up for the Wildcats. Firebirds cannot really afford to lose point anymore. They cannot afford to waste any sort of time, because 71% is really close to the percentage you need to only win one fight. We are seeing that amplification matrix being popped. Lunar Synergy trying to dive the backline of the Wildcats, disrupt a little bit. We are going to be seeing that Bastion. I hear a bunch of Bastion.
Oh my gosh,
getting a triple kill! Or a double kill there, and a triple kill as I say that. Unfortunately, Lunar Synergy taken out of the fight. Shinbone, though, causing a lot of issues, not able to get to escape, I should say, from that Bastion, but Fuzzy on that Baptiste doing a ton of damage onto the Wildcats. Firebirds still able to hold the point, but it is getting down to the wire here. Donut not at that shatter, but we're seeing the Symmetra pop that shield, which is going to be allowing the Firebirds to push around. Donut getting a kill on Moose Milk.
Wow.
Or Shinbo getting Moose Milk. Donut getting Digihair. Lunar Synergy getting a double
This
kill
could
there
be it.
on
That
them.
could be it
That
right
could be
there.
it. Will the Firebirds get the team kill? Oh my gosh.
Just like that, Firebirds turn it up and win it in Game 5 to go 3-1 on the season.
Whatever pep talk Coach Palmer gave them between map 3 and 4, it worked.
That's
really
crazy right
really
there.
worked.
That's crazy.
Donut, we were saying that Lunar Synergy and Donut on round 1 were really the keys to success, but honestly, Donut on this map popped off. I think this was like the greatest Donut map I've ever seen. What a dominant player.
Good.
And he uses the shatter last second just
I guess
for the
you can
fun.
call it synergy when the entire team turns up.
Oh my gosh. It literally, that was the opposite of what we saw on maps 1 and 3. You know, maps 1 and 3, the Firebirds were just not playing as a team. And then it worked. It really worked on those maps 4 and 5. Coach Palmer's pep talk boosting them with the confidence and the morale that they needed. And what a map 5. Now, we are going to take a quick break because we have to set up for our post-game interview.
30 seconds.
We have a surprise guest. Not a surprise because this person was a dominant player tonight. So I'm expecting it to be a great interview, so do not go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to tonight's post-game interview. Your Carthage Firebirds just had the greatest roller coaster of matches against the Wayne State Wildcats. Map 1, really, really struggling there. Getting a really good round 1, but rounds 2 and 3 not getting like any sort of upper hand. Round 2 on Kings Row, having a very, very good attack against the Wildcats, pushing it all the way near the end with a 5 minutes and 40 seconds on the clock. The Firebirds able to hold them that entire time in just the little bit of area that they needed to push, and able to do that with even more time on the clock, finishing off, winning map 2. Map 3, Firebirds, not good. Really, really not. Literally not capturing the first point. I'll fully be honest there. But maps 4 and 5, coming back on that push map, and map 5. I don't even know how to describe map 5. Going 2-0 on Nepal. That you guys made the Wildcats look like a completely different team. Never really getting that upper hand. A little bit there on that last round, but you guys came back. But enough for that game. Enough for the summary. Joining me tonight was a player that just the entire match, I mean, we saw some dominance from Lunar Synergy and Shinbone, but that last map, especially Donut on Reinhardt, swinging that hammer, hitting people like they were nails, having a great time. How are you feeling right now?
Dude, I lost my voice. We got homework tonight, but honestly, we're great. Like that was even for you guys, it was a roller coaster, but for us in the comms in between games, it went from us. I don't know how much you guys heard, but we're screaming on the last.
Oh, we could hear you.
I could hear you guys popping out of my neck. I'm like screaming at Odin, he's screaming at me. But like in some of those early games, it was just like, hey man. Like we took a 5-minute bathroom break, and we're all like in the urinals next to each other, well, the guys at least, and then it's just silent. Like nobody's saying anything. We're like, so about that game 3. So I'm feeling great, man. I'm ecstatic.
Yeah. Now map 1. Let's start with there.
What was map 1? I got lost.
The Antarctica Peninsula map.
Got it.
New map.
Yep.
What was your thought process on choosing that?
I had no thought process on it.
Okay.
They said, what map do you want to choose? And then they chose that. And I said, guys, I haven't played this in ranked ever. So I just listened to what everyone else told me to do, and I just tried to like follow up as much as I can. But
I mean, it worked out on round 1, but rounds 2 and 3 was very clear you guys were not too familiar with the map. But we did kind of brush that off. We said, just kind of trying it out, testing the waters in a sense. But map 2 on Kings Row, like that, I mean, they had a dominant, and when I say dominant, I mean a dominant attack until that last area. What happened?
I think we just got overwhelmed. I'm going to be honest. We knew that they were going to do that. We had a plan to take care of it. We didn't really do what we had originally planned on in the VOD when we were doing the reviews. But I mean, eventually we kind of sorted it out, talked to each other, and just pivoted as we could mid-game, and that seemed to work out for us. So.
Now, they seem to play the strategy we are kind of known for on Kings Row as well, the teleporter onto the statue with the Bastion. Yeah. So it didn't. I assume it didn't feel too good on the receiving end of that. So,
we're mad.
But I mean, on the when you saw once they captured that point, and you saw 5 minutes and 40 seconds on the clock, what was going through all your minds?
Personally, I'm not a big timer guy.
Okay.
I try to ignore it because that goes through my mind. So I don't know what's going through everyone else's. But I know like Ian was like, all right, focus up. Like obviously we're not dialed in. Let's lock in. Let's get it done. Make some call outs. And I think at some point I was just like, you know what? I don't know what the plan is. I'm just doing my own thing. And like, that's when I switched from Ryan to Winston, which is like a weird whatever. But I was like, you know what? Honestly, it feels right. Like just something is saying it's right. And then we just started screaming at each other and it worked out. So I can't say I know what was going on in our heads, but I like it.
Yeah, it worked out. But then going into map 3, you guys were like a completely different team on map 3, and it was not a good thing. It was you guys were playing really good like I wouldn't even say really good. You guys were playing solos. Yeah, it really looked like absolutely. That. But on Circuit Royale, what was it like? What was the attitude? I guess
like our spirits were still high. We knew we could win, right? But it was one of those things where someone says go on this person, and someone else says go on this person, and like we're looking 9 different directions, and we only have 10 pairs of eyes. You know what I'm saying? And we didn't have that focus to go there or even really work as a team. So that was really what we lacked. That map was just let's do it together. Whatever we do, I don't care what we do. Whatever we do, as long as it's together, it's gonna work. But we just couldn't really get that dialed in.
Mm-hmm. And I think the big turning point of the game was between maps 3 and 4. We heard that Coach Palmer gave you guys a really good pep talk. What was, what would you describe it? Was it needed? Do you think it was what was it during that break we should talk about? Because we don't talk about that breaks. We only see the game.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't know what happened during the break. I think I just started talking to like some of the guys, and I was like, you know what? This is gonna be fun. Like I got homework after this. We're gonna have a good time. Like let's leave it all out. And I mean I'm gonna take the credit for this, and maybe I shouldn't. I just started screaming like a madman. I was kind of like, I noticed that our focus fire wasn't good, and I decided I literally said, all right, everyone just listen to me. I'll tell you exactly what to do. And I'm like, I probably shouldn't be making like all those calls, but I was like, as long as we're all doing the same thing, that's what was going on. And then once we started gaining momentum, like our whole team just started like, okay, we got momentum, we're going. And then everyone everything just kind of fell perfectly into place, and we carried that.
Yeah, I mean, it was very clear on that push. It started off kind of back. It literally was back and forth, and forth. We named the robot Ronaldo, by the way, because we were like, hey, we're just not going to call the robot. But like Ronaldo was really getting his hours and his cardio in. And then at one point, you guys won a fight, and you literally just continued it, and we could hear you guys shouting that last few seconds of that point. What were you guys shouting?
It was literally just calls.
Okay.
I was and you could hear the guys told me afterwards. I would say like all you have to do is like push forward, like let's go. But I have like every vein on my neck popping out, screaming, just go, 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 go. And like everyone's like, dude, the fight's over. We already won. Like, we don't need to go anymore. I'm like, no, keep going. I promise. And I'm just like screaming everything. And everyone else is like, I mean, if he's screaming, I'm screaming. So like,
but that's what you need, because I always say the game is not over until you see the words victory on the screen, you know, and it definitely worked out. But then going into game 5, was there nerves?
I think it was. I don't know if, you know, they say nervousness and excitement are the same in the body. It's just how your mind processes it, right? I think that's kind of what it was going. Like a little bit of nervous, a little bit of like, wait a minute, like we got momentum. We know we can win this is the last game regardless, right? Mm-hmm. We're leaving happy or we're leaving sad. And you could tell like during that moment, like someone else like made the call, and it was right about to be overtime. And, you know, sometimes you get slumped and you get sad. And I remember, I think it was Odin shouted something. I was like, oh, he's on it. Like, he's ready. Let's go.
Well, we saw, I mean, from when you were on the Inner Sanctum map, we saw at one point you were Wrecking Ball. You were alone on site. We just saw Moose Milk, the Wildcats tank, dive onto our line. At that moment, we were like, that's not good.
Yeah.
But what was going through your mind at that point? Did you notice that and be like,
I
okay,
was freaking
our
out.
entire back line has to take on the tank being pocketed by a support? Like, were you? I mean, what were you were kind of hoping to capture a point though at that point, right?
Yeah. So I mean, we can't get off because otherwise we lose. And so we had this conversation earlier where it's just trust everyone. If you have faith, if you have trust, then I'm sure it'll be fine. And I remember like I was the one that said that. So when I got on point, I was like, I mean, good luck, you know. Like,
and then did you see the kill feed? And
I was like, let's go.
Yeah, and it worked out. And then, you know, on that last map though, on Nepal, that last round on Reinhardt, you know, throughout the match, we were seeing a lot of dominant plays by Shinbone especially, and then Lunar Synergy coming in, making some amazing plays as well. But you really stood out on that last round. What changed? Were you just kind of finally had it, finally angry, you're like, fine, I'm gonna do it myself, despite it kind of working previously?
I mean, it's one of those things where like it feels great to be tank when everyone's on the same page, because you kind of get to be a little flashy with it. And so it's a little more that it wasn't really so much I was doing too much stuff different, but because everyone was on the same page, it made me look good. I'm gonna be honest. My healers made me look very good, even if I probably shouldn't have been that good. You know what I'm saying? Like when Emily and Ian are healing like that, whatever you do kind of looks stylish.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, it really showed. But Lunar Synergy getting some amazing kills that last round, especially too. So it was not just you by any means, but you definitely stood out as that very offensive, very attack-worthy tank, and it worked out for the series going into Game 5. You know, it's always kind of a scary thing going into Game 5. It does become kind of an endurance match. But going into next week, what are your thoughts right now? What are you expecting? What are you hoping for?
So we start slow a lot. And I would really like, especially today, we were like, let's sweep. And I was like, yeah, man, I got a lot of homework tonight. But I mean, it's like 9:00 and I'm going to start. So I would really like to just see us kind of like in from the get-go, locked in. Because if we show up locked in, I feel like the momentum won't shift as much, and won't be, the ground won't be taken underneath us. So I think if we just lock in, and then again, like I was saying earlier, if we just have trust in each other, I really think we can do some great stuff this season.
Oh yeah, it was a beautiful match. Thank you so much for joining me for this interview. Thank you for such a great match, great roller coaster of events here. To the viewers at home, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to follow us on all of the social medias at Carthage Sports. Any last second shout outs?
Yeah, hey, I got to shout out my girlfriend. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for watching, Alyssa. I don't actually know if she watched. I think she did.
But I think somebody outside just heard that on the stream too. But be sure to follow us on all of our social medias at Carthage Esports. I know tomorrow night we are back for some Smash Brothers Ultimate, I believe around 6 o'clock, so don't miss that. And we have a very, very special event on Monday that we'll be posting probably about on the Instagram, so you do not, and I promise you, you do not want to miss that. So thank you so much for watching. Have a great night. Hope to see you tomorrow. We'll be back tomorrow, so don't go anywhere.
High Wheaton shoves that right over to the Lions half. Looks like this one's going in. Oh, you're kidding me. Donut S. Oh, Donut from behind. We're going to see the barrage. The barrage.
Oh my gosh, Nico is just dominating right now.
What a play.
That's disgusting.
Oh my gosh.
That was disgusting.